I want to start off by saying I neither defend nor denigrate Mighty Number 9 based solely on the content that we've seen in the most recent trailer. In fact, the previous trailer that you can find on Steam is pretty much the same thing. They have similar visuals, kind of cheesy voice acting, and they even make fun of a guy named Vernon, who they bring up in this current trailer, about being the creepy kid living down the street, kind of making fun of video game players in general. So both of these trailers have insulted people, in my opinion. I think this one is just the most recent one and is probably going to become the most popular because of all the downvotes. I don't really see the big deal. Like, they're poking fun at us, our community, our culture, what have you. That's fine. It doesn't affect who we are as people. It doesn't mean that we're those prom night geeks or whatever they're trying to say, and that we're Vernon from down the street. That's not us. So let's not give them the power to dictate to us who we are and say who we are. We're not those people, so it doesn't affect us. I say us, maybe it's just me. I don't want to speak for anybody else. What's more is there are more pressing issues with this trailer that we're seeing that people aren't bringing up. They're kind of focusing on the prom night issue. In my opinion, this game doesn't live up to the standard of previous Mega Man games, especially the Mega Man X series. The X series, in my opinion, is the 1 through 3 and actually 4 are all amazing. They're fun, they're beautiful, the graphics are great, especially for the time. They're still playable, the music's amazing, but most importantly, the gameplay is there. They're fun. They're really fun to play. Something in this newer trailer that I saw that was a little bit disconcerting was when he was dashing through characters and he was getting the combo ups, he was pausing for a second each time, and it would stop the action for just a brief second, and then you'd move on to the next guy and the next guy. And it wasn't bullet time like you would see in some games like Metal Gear Solid when you get spotted, Metal Gear Solid 5. But it was a full-on stop. So it's not like you could stop and then like redirect yourself towards somewhere else. That's a continuation of momentum. It gives you a moment as a player to think and to move on to something else. This is a full stop. And that's something in the early Mega Man games that really, really bothered me, and in fact got me killed a couple times. If you were low on health or even low on weapon energy and you went to pick up a health pickup or a weapon pickup, the game would pause for just a brief moment while your energy refilled. And this didn't happen with 1-ups, and it didn't happen with E-tanks, but only with energy and health pickups. The problem is when those health pickups were near a ledge and you were low on health and you were jumping, you would hit that health pickup and it would pause you for just a brief moment and you would fall, maybe to your death. Or if that was on a ledge and you were making a jump, it would pause for a moment and then resume, and you didn't know where you were, things were a little confusing and your timing is off. Either way, it halts momentum and it stops gameplay, and it's not fun. I don't like it. I don't enjoy when the Mega Man games, the early Mega Man games, did that. So that's just a small thing, but honestly, I think it's kind of a big thing. I think the combo system in this new game is going to be a real focus because they want to do something different. They want to do something revolutionary, and that's fine. But if that something different and revolutionary isn't fun, it doesn't matter. It's like adding melting ice to Metal Gear Solid 2. Ooh, it's cool to look at. It's melting. It's environmental. But how does that add to the gameplay? You can break glasses. Who cares? If the game's not fun, it doesn't matter what bells and whistles you tack onto it. And this combo system seems like they kind of want the game to be a little more frenetic, a little more fast-paced. Honestly, kind of like Doom. Doom did that recently where your melee kills could lead into other melee kills, and you're shooting demons in the face and shotgunning and switching weapons, and even when you needed to switch weapons, the game slowed down, but it never stopped. You slowed down for a moment, you pick your new weapon, and you keep going, and it encouraged the frenetic pace of the game, and it made it so much fun to just run around and smash demons in the face. I think that's what they're trying to do with this Mighty Number 9. They're trying to make it a little more fast, a little more just not stopping, but continually going. And the problem with that is that's not really a Mega Man game. That can be a way that you play Mega Man games, but Mega Man games are fun because there's exploring to do, and there's sliding and wall jumping and avoiding enemies, and I think a lot of that, well, not the sliding and avoiding enemies, but some of that, you lose some of that when the game is constantly going and going, trying to get to the next place. You don't stop and enjoy the areas that you're in. I mean, another thing that makes Mega Man games great is your weapon switching. Now, in the Mega Man X4, my favorite of all the Mega Mans, probably, honestly, you get to play Zero. And the reason I liked Zero so much is because he had all his abilities available all the time. You didn't have to right bumper, left bumper, or press start, change weapons, toggle through till you turn pink, and then throw your quick boomerangs and then switch back. You could just press up in triangle, and he would do an up, a fiery uppercut, and then down in triangle he does ice down. So you can chain these combos in such a way that it's just the game becomes frenetic organically. It's not a gimmick. It's not a byproduct of this thing that we're trying to tack on here. It's something that you do as a player naturally, and you don't have to. You can slow it down and use the moves one at a time if you want, and take the game slowly. But if you wanted to go fast, you could, but it wasn't required. I think this focus on this frenetic game pace is going to ultimately hurt the franchise, because not everybody wants this fast-paced go action game. Some people want to slow it down a little bit. The Mega Man series kind of pioneered this Metroidvania, and Mega Man never gets thrown in there, which is kind of sad, style of gameplay where when you unlock an ability or you unlock a certain type of attack, you can access areas that you couldn't access before. Now, it wasn't so prevalent in the early Mega Man games. You need to rush to get certain pickups or to reach energy tanks. Even in Mega Man 2, they had some stuff like that. But the Mega Man X series really cemented it, where when you got a fire attack, you could burn down the trees, and then behind the trees was a special area. You get up in that special area, and then you pick up a helmet. Now this helmet lets you see where all the secrets are on the level. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Now I know where all the secrets are, so you go back and play all the old levels that you've already beaten. So you wind up playing the game twice if you don't know where all the secrets are. But it's not a burden. It's fun. You're going and you're exploring these new areas because you have all these new abilities, and you saw this thing up on the ledge you couldn't get to before, but now you have the ice attack and you can freeze the enemy and jump on him and get up there, and it's great. It's amazing. And I don't know if Mighty Number 9 is going to do any of that. It didn't look like there was much focus on like exploring or any hidden secrets anywhere. It was kind of just getting from one place to another and moving at such a pace because platforms are falling or the roof is coming down, and you're just moving. Even the nature of picking up enemy power-ups. I guess the bosses give you permanent power-ups, but the lower, weaker enemies give you temporary power-ups. They're temporary. That's boring. Oh, you gave me a squirt gun that I can use in this one specific situation. That's not a tool I want in my toolkit. I don't want the ability to sometimes kind of be able to, for a short period of time, use something. I want a skill that I can use whenever I need it, like an upper fire cut or a freeze beam that freezes enemies, so that I can use them when I want to, not when you want me to. I don't want to play your game. I want to play my game. You see what I'm saying? When the game is go, do this, do that, and then go here, and then use this ability here, you don't get to be the person playing the game. The game's kind of playing you. And I think ultimately that's the main thing that we should be taking away from these trailers, is that there's less of a focus on individual gameplay. And I mean, there's different modes. There's the boss rush mode, and there's, one hit and you're dead mode, and that's really cool. I'm a fan of that, and I think that's where the combo system belongs, is in a special mode, a secondary mode that you either unlock or just at the beginning. It doesn't matter, but call it combo mode or something, and build the levels differently around that. Not build the levels, but maybe enemy placements and exploding barrels. Like, I'm not going to expect a whole redesign of a whole level. That's ridiculous. But redesign some of the enemies to maybe put in where there were 2 enemies, put in 4 enemies, so that it kind of plays to that combo strength, and do it that way. But that tied in with the dash mechanics in general, the dash doesn't look very, I don't know, it doesn't look good. It looks flashy and distracting. I mean, you're looking at this character the whole time, and he's like flashing, and then he turns, light green, and then he's flashing, and to harken back to the Mega Man series, when you dash, there's a little bit of trail, or there's a little bit of motion blur, and that's it. You don't change completely. And I understand that's a mechanic of the character, like he gets this field around him that then he can absorb the abilities of enemies, but it's kind of annoying when you're doing that all the time. And it seems like, honestly, like 60 to 70% of all the footage I've seen of Mighty Number 9, he's in this light green dashing state, so you don't even get to see your character most of the time. You just see this dashing blur the whole time. And that's also a little distracting. Not even to bring up the fact that the explosions don't look great. I mean, that is prevalent in the trailer, especially because I think those were cutscenes that we've seen in the trailer, so that really doesn't, spotlight their explosions very well. But honestly, when you watch the gameplay footage full screen and they have those big explosions, they're not that bad. They're not that distracting. It's not going to take you out of the game because you're moving and you're going and it doesn't matter. But another thing that I think really does matter is the character design. And when you look back at the Kickstarter video and the early concept, design work, they had a much clearer, crisper design than what they have currently. It almost looks like they're rushed at this point. I know they've pushed the game back a couple times, so maybe they are rushed. They're the typical elemental Mega Man bosses. And I guess the designs themselves aren't terrible, but the faces look bad, and it just looks like there was all this work that went into them that went about 85-95% of the way there, and they just didn't get the rest of the polish on them. And they're boring, and honestly, I just don't want to play a game where you're looking at these characters the whole time. Shit on it for not looking good, but honestly, if the game's fun, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what a game looks like if it's fun, because that should be the main focus of any game, is its fun factor. And they've even said as much. Inafune said that he wanted to make a game that the fans wanted. He wanted to make a fun game, and he was listening to feedback and trying to make something that the people wanted. And I may have to eat my words on this, but honestly, this trailer aside, just what I've seen of the game and just the feeling I get from it, I don't think that this is going to live up to anybody's expectations. It might be good. I hope it's good. I really hope it's good. I want it to succeed, because anytime a long-term game developer who's part of a beloved franchise wants to strike out and do his own thing, we hope they do well, because we want more of what made those early franchises great. But I just don't feel it on this one. The weapons too, like that you get from the bosses, might be a real saving grace. I mean, from what I can tell from the videos, the fire move that you get from the fire boss is an AoE fire attack. You get a knife attack, I guess a blade attack where you spin around, you spit bullets back at people, and a couple other moves. There's some bulldozer thing that he was using to jump off different enemies onto other enemies. They all seem very, close range, very similar to the way that Zero felt in Mega Man X. And if it's the kind of thing in Mighty Number 9 where you can just do different button combinations to use specific abilities, that's going to be great, because that means you can chain things. You can do the bulldozer guy up till you hit the top of the ramp where there's bad guys, and then you fire attack, and then from there you blade spin all the bullets that are coming at you. All these abilities become like power-ups that you can use whenever you want to, in whatever situation, and that's really fun for me. Instead of some sort of weapon that you have to press right bumper until you turn green and then use leaf shield or press start and select. That's annoying. That's a staple of the X series, and I get it, but it's really annoying that you have to toggle through 8 different abilities to get to the one that you want. You should be able to use them instantly, and I think if you could, you would use abilities that you don't normally use more often. If you could just shoot a couple of rockets that heat seek an enemy really quickly and then go back to your favorite weapon, that'd be great. To bring up Doom again, that's what I do all the time. I start with a shotgun and heavy machine gun, and then if a big enemy shows up, I switch to a larger weapon, and then if maybe a flying enemy shows up, I switch to lock-on rocket launchers so that it's easier to take them out. And you're always switching between these weapons, so you want to level them up all evenly and equally because they all have a purpose, but also, the game is more fun because you're not just locked into one or two weapon types. You're able to switch on the fly and use a specific weapon to take out a specific enemy, and that's really fun. Hopefully Mighty Number 9 does something like that, where there are certain enemies that are easier to take out with the bulldozer than they are with regular attacks. All this being said, do I think that was a bad trailer? Not necessarily. And even if I did, would I think that that's something to judge the whole game by? Also, not necessarily. There have been many times where trailers have been misleading, and the game is better and or worse than what the trailer portrays. Trailers are just kind of a way to get people excited about something, and they've apparently failed on this front with this trailer. So I don't know what they plan to do in the future. Probably the best bet would just be make a better trailer and let this one fall by the wayside. If they issue an apology, it's only going to bring more light to it. And if they're snarky, which they kind of seems like they are, judging by this trailer and the previous trailer, they're going to make some sort of public statement, and be it in a YouTube video or by Twitter. Whatever it is, I hope it's respectful of the fan base, and I hope that they really take these concerns seriously, because, you know, you've got, you know, almost $4 million on Kickstarter. That's cute, but if you want this game to be a success, you have to be nice to the people who are going to buy it. I don't know how else to say that. And your snarky little comments about anime fans is not a way to do that. To the people who are commenting on the outcry of this game and saying that the only reason people don't like this trailer is because they're anime fans and they're butthurt about one comment, I doubt one single comment is enough to turn someone who loves a franchise off of something. I think there's a lot more here. I think the prom night comment is just a focal point for people, because they feel a general sense of unhappiness and dissatisfaction with this trailer. They feel that the game that they were hoping for might not come, and they're disappointed by that, and they have every right to be disappointed. They have every right to think that the game looks like crap because of the explosions, and they have every right to be offended by the prom night comment. That's their business. But I hope that I brought up some good points, and I hope that people think a little more critically about this game, that they look over some of the previous trailers, and that they come to their own conclusion on whether or not this is going to be a good game or not, and don't allow this hype train derailment to change their opinion on something just because it's the popular thing right now.